We're going to start on Tess Aleph at the Mishnah. It's a very simple Mishnah. It's long, but it's very simple because it repeats very similar laws for each of the sacrifices. If this would be your first introduction to Seder Kachim, this would be like a good Mishnah to start with. Yeah, unfortunately, when you learn Gemara, it doesn't always start with the elementary and work its way up. Sometimes, like, if someone sends a get from Medina Sayyam, that's like the first Mishnah. 1 second, what's a get? So, this is like an introductory Mishnah, sort of. Eily Saif, the bird that's an Eily. So, Mayalimba, Misha Hukdasha. Once it's consecrated, so then there's Meilah. In other words, the consecration of it turns it into Kodesh Kadashim, and then no one's allowed to have any benefit from it. Nimlaka, after the Malika's done, then, which is the way that it's slaughtered, now it's already susceptible to become impure, or to become pasul. Pasul we translate it as impure, but just it can't make anything else impure. If a tvul yaim touches it, that means someone that went to the mikveh. Mechusik kippurim, someone that is missing his sacrifices, is also not supposed to come in contact with it. We said maybe that means he can't eat it, but he can't eat it anyway. So he can't come in contact with it. Ubelina, and if it stays overnight, it also becomes pasul. Mitzadama, that's the next step. If you squeeze out the blood against the wall of the mizbeah,
so what is?
We have 3 steps: Hukdasha,
right?
Nimlaka, Mitzadama.
Nimlaka is with
the thumbnail. Now Mitzadama, this is similar to sprinkling the blood, but by an Eila of a bird, you squeeze the blood. Chayavan alav mishum pigol nicer v'tamei. Then if there were any thoughts earlier of pigol, to eat it or to do any service out of the allotted time, that all takes effect right now, because this is the way that it's going to be kosher. Nicer if it stays past its time, and someone eats it. So that's the prohibition of nicer. And tamei is if someone tamei eats it or it becomes tamei. Umayalin ba, and there still is me'ilah in it, ad sheteitzi lebeis hadeshen, until it's brought out to the Beis Hadeshen. Now, the Beis Hadeshen we could translate here 2 ways. See, an Eily Saif is burnt on the altar. Every morning, they took a shovel full of the ashes and they put it on the side of the altar. And then when the pile would get too big, they would take everything off and take it somewhere else. One is called Trumas Hadeshen, one is called Hitzas Hadeshen. The Trumas Hadeshen is just a small spoonful. That's the regular way of understanding this. Agitatza Lebeis Hadeshen, let's assume means Trumas Hadeshen. Once the ashes, once it's burnt up, then you take the ashes off and you put them on the side, or a shovelful of the ashes and put them on the side. Then the whole mitzvah is done. The mitzvah of the ashes was also done. It was put on the side, and so that after that there's no more me'ilah. But before that's done, then there's me'ilah even from the ashes. You could use the ashes for things, maybe ink, I don't know, or fertilizer or something. If someone would do that, so that would be a violation of me'ilah. Okay, so that's the first carbon that we're going to discuss. We're going to go through a bunch of karbanos. Para manisrafim usir manisrafim. These are special sacrifices, very unique, that the blood is brought inside the sanctuary itself, the kodesh, the heichal. And so normally the sacrifices, the blood is sprinkled on the altar. These sacrifices, the blood is brought inside. The flesh is burnt outside the temple. This is for the whole community sins. This is different sacrifices. So mayolim b'mishuktashu, they are kodesh kadashim. They're very holy. So therefore, once they're consecrated, there's already me'ilah. Nishchatu, once the shchita is done, a regular shchita, these are large animals. It's a bull or a goat. Huchshru pasal b'tfil yaim u'mechusik kippurim u'belina. They already become pasal after the shechita. If they come in contact with a tfil yaim, mechusik kippurim, someone that didn't bring his own sacrifices yet for any sort of impurity, and if it stays overnight, who's a dama, if the blood is sprinkled, then chayav v'naleim shem pigol neiser v'tamei, then he's chayav for pigol neiser and tamei, because that's the way that that's the matir, the sprinkling of the blood. Umaylam bahen bebeis hadeshen, when these are brought out to be burnt, bebeis hadeshen, outside the temple, there's a place that these are burnt, it's called beis hadeshen. This is not burnt on the altar and taken off, the ashes taken off. This is actually burnt outside.
So even though it says, so this is yatich, no.
Ad sheyatech habasar, until the basar yatech literally means melts. But what it means until it's merged.
I'm saying bebeis hadeshen.
Ad sheyatech habasar. Meilah ben beis hadeshen.
So this beis hadeshen and the one before that are two different ones. The first one was trumas hadeshen. This one was hotzas hadeshen.
This is no. Hotzas hadeshen is when you take the tapuah,
the whole out. The overload.
Yeah, out. And this is a place called Beis Hadeshen, outside the temple, where you burnt the param manisrafim, l'sirim manisrafim. So, achiyat chabasar, until the flesh is consumed by the fire. Use the term melts, but it means it's consumed. Eily, we're up to the next carbon. Now we already did Eily Sa'if, but now we're up to Eily Behema. The burnt offering, there's Meilah Mishah to show once it's consecrated. That means that it's Kedesh Kadashim. Nishchata, once it's slaughtered, Huchshru pasal b'tfil chusik kippurim belina. Oh, thank you. Then it becomes pasal for tfil yaim chusik kippurim belina, if it stays overnight. Mishenizik dama, once the blood is sprinkled, then chayav v'nalaim misham pigol neiser v'tamei. The sprinkling of the blood is what makes it if there were pigol thoughts, that now it's considered pigol, and now it's considered left over if you leave it over. And if someone tummy touches it. Ve'in mayalim ba'oros. Right now, there's no me'ilah anymore in the skin of it. In other words, you can use the hide to make whatever you want, because the koyanim keep the hide of the oila. They get that leather. Aval mayalim bebasar, but the flesh of it, there is me'ilah. Why? Because it's meant to be burnt on the altar. Achot teitz lebeis hadeshen, until the trumas hadeshen. Chatas v'asham v'ziv cheshal mitzibar. The chatas, the asham, in the community shlamim, which is from Shavuos. So, Mayalam ben Mishok Teshu, there's Me'ilah when it's consecrated, which means that it's Kodesh Kadashim. Nishchetu, once it's slaughtered, Huchshru pasal b'tfil yom chusik kippurim belina. Then it has that status. Nizrak dama, once the blood sprinkled, chayav v'naleim misham pigol neiser v'tamei. The zrika is what is the matter. And it says, Mayalam behem. Did I just skip a line? Neiser v'tamei. Ein mayalim bebasar. There's no me'ilah in the flesh. Why? Because it's eaten. Aval mayalim be'emareim ad she'etz lebeis hadeshen. But there is me'ilah in the limbs that are put on the altar until the ashes are taken off. Okay, we're up to shtei alechem now. These are the 2 loaves of bread that are brought on Shavuos. Shtei alechem mayalim behem mishah hukdeshu. They're considered Kodesh Kadashim. So once they're consecrated.
So really all the differences are primarily towards the end.
Yeah.
Different stages that we find.
Where the me'ilah goes off.
Right.
So once it's consecrated, how is it consecrated? By someone verbally saying that this is going to be the shtei halechem. Karmu betanar, once it crusts in the oven, so then huchshru pasal b'tfil yom chusik kippurim belina. Let's see, belina is not so clear. It's puzzle it becomes puzzle if it's full yom it comes in contact with it, or mechusik kippurim comes in contact with it. Now, what is the crust in the Tanakh comparable to? The shechita. Now, there's a question over here if the word of belina belongs in there. And the Mefarish here says that you can't say the word Belina because Lina is only for something that needs to be done that day. And if it stays overnight, then it's a Lina. It's a lawn, it would stay overnight. But here, it was actually made 2 or 3 days before. So there's no such thing as Lina. However, if you do have the Girsa Belina, what that would mean was, if it stays overnight after the 2-3 days. But the Mefarish doesn't want to say Linas usually is a term that's used for that day. There's another term for if it's eaten after that time, that's nicer, and that's not what we're talking about. Okay, but once it becomes a crust in the oven, then it also has the ability, Lishchet Aleim as a Zevach, you can now sacrifice the offering that came along with the Shtei Alechem. Nizrak Daman Shel Kvasim, once the blood is sprinkled from the sheep, which came along with the Shtei Alechem, there's no Meilah anymore, because now the Shtei Alechem could be eaten by the Kayanim. And what's the story with the Pigel Neiser and Tameh when you sprinkle that blood? What's happening is that there could be Pigel Neiser and Tameh in the Shtei Alechem itself, not just in the Kvasim. That's like what's going on in here. We're adding another point.
Because it's tied to the basar.
It's tied to the sacrifice.
They're coupled together.
Yeah.
In terms of,
Lechem Apanim, the showbread. That's done every week. Meilim by Mishahuk Disha. It's supposed to say, once it's consecrated, it says, my Gemara says Hukrusha. But that just means congealed. The Shita Mekubetzis fixes it to Hukdisha. Once it's consecrated, then there's Meilah. So that's similar to Kaidish Kadashim. Karam Betanar, once it has a crust in the oven, then Hukshali Pasal Betul Yom Chosek Kippurim, will has to Al Gabi Ashulchan. Once it's crusted in the tanner, then it becomes pasal if it comes in contact with a Tvul Yom or someone that sacrifices, personal sacrifices weren't brought yet, and it could already be organized on the table. Notice it leaves out Lina, because it's there for 7 days, so it fits. Karvu Abazichem, if the frankincense is offered, Chayavan Alav Misham Pigel Neiser V'Tamei, that's considered the matir, like sprinkling of the blood of a sacrifice. Over here, it's the frankincense. The ve'im by Meilah, and there's no Meilah in it. Why? Because it's eaten by the Kayanim. Hamenachais. What about the meal offerings, the flour offerings? Meilah bem.
Sorry, why is no Meilah?
Because the lechem apanim is eaten by the Kayanim.
So it's
after the bezichin.
Okay.
After the bezichin are brought, then it's eaten by the Kayanim. The bezichin are spoonfuls of frankincense. HaMenachis Meilam ben Mishuk Deshu. The Menachis, there's Meilah once it's consecrated. Kadshu bekeli. Once it's put into the vessel in the temple. Huchshali pasal betvul yaim mechasik kippurim ubelina. Then you have those laws. Shouldn't come in contact with tvul yaim mechasik kippurim, and it shouldn't stay overnight. Karava kaimetz. If the kaimetz is offered, that's the scoopful of 3 fingers. Then chayav la misham pigel neiser v'tamei, vein meilim b'shirayim. There's no me'ilah in the remnants of the carbon mincha. Aval meilim b'kaimetz at shitz lebeis hadeshen. But there is me'ilah in the kaimetz, and because the kaimetz, that scoopful, is burnt on the altar, and until the ashes are removed from the altar, then could be me'ilah even from those ashes. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Basically, we went through every possible type of carbon here.
Wow.
And we didn't do the chatas because that we did before. We didn't do the chatas ha'if, that was the Mishnah before.
I hope there's not going to be a quiz after this year.
so was there a common denominator besides we wait till the end of the story on each one, or each one was enumerated because they aren't? There is no common.
There's, like Naftali tells that there's certain parts to each sacrifice. There's like 4 parts to each sacrifice. The problem is some of the sacrifices are done slightly. There's variations in this, but nevertheless they combine. They fit in according to their what it is. If it's a mincha, so the kamitza is similar to sprinkling of the blood. If it's a bird, so the malika is the shchita. Each one it has its thing where it fits into those categories, and each of those categories has its own halachas. That's basically what we said. Okay.
At least now I understand the theme of this masakta. When do these various issues apply, and when does the potential come to an end?
Right. And where Meilah fits in, because Meilah goes off with these different... Okay. Itmar was stated by Amirayim. Hanene me'afar tapuach shal gabi hamizbeach. Someone has benefit from the ashes that's on the tapuach as an apple. It was called an apple because there was a heap. It was a mound. According to one opinion, actually, there was a raised area that it was on. But it's a Rabbi that says that. But it's assumed that, I guess, according to most opinions, is that if we had the mizbeach, and this would be the ramp, so over here was the fire. The kohen would walk up, he would come here to the fire. And then there was a place in the center, the apple would be in the center. And all the ashes were here. And then there was another fire here that was used for coals for the ketairas. That was the basic. There was another one there.
Which is east and west on that?
The east is this side. This is the west. Over here is the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kodashim. This is the south, right over here.
Oh, so
You want me to do it differently? Okay, I'll do it like this. Do it like this. So this is the east.
Yeah.
That's the west.
Right,
That's the south, and this is the north. This is where the sacrifices are slaughtered on the north, the holy sacrifices.
You're asking if it's east west.
You have to face it, the east or west. So, and this area right over here, right down here on the side of the ramp, was where the ashes were put in the morning, the Trumas Adeshin.
Right.
It was like an amma or so this way and this way. It was an area right here. Apparently it was miraculous how it would get swallowed up into the ground. The ashes and
So where is he doing the korban actually?
this gets slaughtered. The holy sacrifice gets slaughtered here,
I mean the burning of the korban.
right up here,
So that first fire.
and in the center here is the.
And he moves the ashes.
Yeah. So now
So what ashes are on the side that you just now said?
some ashes get put over here every morning.
Which one? Oh, what's the difference
It
between
should
the
be from
center
here.
and what's the difference from
Well, what happens is here. This is the actual burning fire. You take the ashes from here and you put them down every morning. It's the first service in the morning. Then
That's
this-
Trumas Adeshin.
it's Trumas Adeshin, but you don't get all the ashes. So the rest of the ashes is going to go over there to clear it up. So there's only
Trumas Adeshin was the special one, if you will. That's the
Right.
one that got some.
They don't have the fires on it.
right,
But they have these are where the slaughter is.
yeah.
We'll cover all this in Tommy.
Yeah, and Talmud we have some more details.
We'll see it today in first half.
I mean, so it says if someone has personal benefit from the ashes. My example was he uses it for ink or for fertilizer.
It's good, yeah, I think it's good.
So
Can't do that.
it's a machlekes. Rav Amar ein ma'ilim. By Rav says there's no more me'ilah. Doesn't mean that you're allowed to, but it's not a violation of me'ilah. Rabbi Yechanan Amar ma'ilim by. Rabbi Yechanan says there is me'ilah from the ashes that are on the center of the altar. The Gemara explains. Lefnei Trumas Adeshin kuli al malei pligi de ma'ilim by. If it's before the Trumas Adeshin, it's strange that the Gemara is talking about it like this because the Trumas Adeshin wasn't from the Tapuach. The Trumas Adeshin was from the fire. At least that's the way we always understood it. The taking off. Let's see. So everyone agrees. Let's say what the Gemara means is if you're taking from the ashes that are on the fire, so then everyone would agree that there's Meilah before the Trumas Hadeshin. We're talking about after the ashes were removed, and what's left up here on the top of the altar are just remaining ashes that need to be removed. But there's no mitzvah that's going to be performed. Rava Marin Meilam Bayish Arinasim mitzvasi. The mitzvah's been performed. What's up there just has to be removed just for cleanliness, but not because of a mitzvah. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Kivan the ksiv v'lava shakayin midevad. Very interesting psukim in the beginning of Parshas Tzav. That how does the kayin remove the ashes? He has to change his clothing to remove the ashes. And it says, why does he change his clothing? Because the clothing that's used by the kitchen workers should not be the clothing that's used to serve the wine to the king. You have to take the apron off and put on a tuxedo. So you have to put on different clothing to remove the ashes to carry them out. So Rabbi Yochanan says, if the Torah is telling you which clothing to wear when you carry out the ashes, it must be that there's a mitzvah that's being performed. Otherwise, it would just say, just don't wear but it says, no, you have to put on other clothing. Because you need the special clothing to carry out the ashes, it must be that it remains holy.
So from here to downstairs.
From here to downstairs, that's for sure a mitzvah. But what about all the rest? You have to clear it off sometime. I don't know how often, but sometimes you have to clear it off. So the remaining ashes here, if you have personal benefit from those ashes, is there a prohibition of Meilah? Rabbi Yochanan says yes. Rav says no.
Wasn't that cleared every morning? Wasn't it part of the
wasn't cleared, yeah. There was one shovelful that was cleared, but the rest of it remained up there.
You use ashes for your bed.
So maybe use it to make ink, or maybe for fertilizer. Someone told me if you get bites, they would put it on like itches. They would put ashes
or mulch.
Yeah, there's some.
Make ash soup.
What is that?
Ash soup.
I don't know where you
Really
come
good.
from.
What do you do?
Joke.
Oh, okay.
Like muds.
Maybe Yossi use it for Tisha B'Av for the egg.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is, right.
Everyone
Okay.
saves it up.
Tanan. Started in a Mishnah, actually our Mishnah. Meilam be'emach tetzel Bais
So
Hadeshin.
why would then Rabbi Yochanan disagree?
Rabbi
No, I mean,
Yochanan-
sorry. That,
Why would Rav?
Rav, yeah.
Rav must hold that.
Because once he says, well, Shalom Hakam Vidova, which Taka makes sense.
Yeah, Rav must hold that the fact that you wear other clothing is not the main point that you wear those clothing. The main point is that you don't wear the
The ones that you did
one that
before.
you did.
Okay.
He must de-emphasize the clothing that you wear. The main point is that you don't wear the clothing.
Right.
That must be what Pshat is. Okay, so our Mishnah says that there's Meilah on things that are burnt on the altar until it's taken off Bais Hadeshin. Now the Gemara's question here is that taken off Bais Hadeshin is not the Trumas Hadeshin, it's the Haitzah Hadeshin.
Right.
So there's Meilah until all the ashes are removed and taken out outside, if that's the way you read it. It's a Kasha L'Rav. It doesn't mean until the ashes are taken outside. It says until it's eligible to be taken outside, but that means after the Trumas Hadeshin.
Fits right in.
Meisvei. Where's the question? V'kulin shapakum yal gabe mizbeach layachzer. It's a discussion in Masechtas Zvachim about what gets put on the fire to be burnt. So, let's say you have a flesh that's attached to a bone. The bone doesn't actually need to be burnt, but if it's attached to the bone, you don't remove the bone off it. If the flesh does need to be burnt, or certain parts of the animal need to be burnt, so it goes up together with the bone. The same as with the hair. The hair that's on the animal doesn't need to be burnt. So if it was removed already, you don't put it on the fire. But if it's attached to the animal, you let it go on the fire. It says if something jumps off the altar, and it's one of these things that did not require it to be burnt. It was in the fire, and sometimes the fire goes pop, whatever, and it fell off the side. So lo yachzer, you don't have to put it back on. If there was a coal, we're talking about a coal from the wood, not a coal from the flesh or the limbs, but a coal from the wood that fell off, you don't have to put it back on. Now the Gemara's medayik. We're talking about that it fell off from the side. Hal gabi mizbeach. But let's say it's still on the altar. Just move to the side. Maybe to the center.
It's still up, but got pushed
Maybe it got pushed to the center or something.
Yeah.
So here, if it rolled down the ramp, then it would be considered off the altar. But here, halfway, okay. So then, yachzer, it says you have to put it back on. No, it doesn't say that. That's a diak that we're making. Why don't you have to put it back on? Because it fell off the side. But if it was still on there, then you should put it back into the fire. We understand why you need to do this according to Rabbi Yochanan, because he holds the ashes are still holy, and it needs to be returned. El Rav Kasha, but according to Rav, there's no holiness in this, and there's no significance to those ashes. Amalach Rav would respond to this that Shani Gachelas Disbei Mishasha. This is not ashes. This is a coal. Coal, there's really substance there. So the coal needs to go back. Rav said that there's no substance, there's no significance to the ashes. Now it must be that the Truma Sedeshin was done already, and it's still on the side, and you have to put it back on. Otherwise we wouldn't be talking about this.
It says there's no substance. Are you talking about
the ashes have no substance.
What is substance? It's like value, or
I think it means that it
like
crumbles.
not physical. You say physical substance.
Yeah. Because it has physical substance, that's why it still retains the holiness.
Isn't the definition of ashes essentially something that has no substance value, offer, that there's nothing there? I mean, how low can you go? Can you go down to ashes?
You get to ashes.
That's the
it's
code.
lower.
That's the
Ashes
code
to
of the day.
ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah.
Dust. Yeah, maybe dust after ashes.
There's a
Go ahead.
there's a phrase in our study of operations called organized chaos. And that's coming to mind here because there must have been an enormous volume and amount of activity for all these things that we've been learning for a week now to happen. Things that go wrong.
Right.
These are all things that are going wrong.
Right.
It's not working perfectly. And that's what happens when you have a great volume and you can't handle
Right.
it. It's a little hard to understand these things happening in a community carbon. To me, I would think that the Kohanim would pay special attention to that. You have one representing the whole Jewish people. That the idea that these things could still happen. But.
Well, I could see this happening I can imagine that the Kohen goes up there, he's doing his thing, whatever, and he comes down and he sees his ashes on the side of his robe. There's ashes there. He comes in and says, "Oh, this is perfect." These ashes, and it doesn't have to be that it was like, how did this scoundrel get up there and take the ashes? No. It was just it rubbed onto his thing. Is he allowed to make use of it, or is he not allowed to? There's possibilities.
Tommy, we're going to learn about all the precautions Kohanim took on everything. But it seems like once it got into the actual activity,
the production,
it must have just been going so fast that mistakes occur.
When they make radioactive stuff today, there's always qualification. It has to be handled very carefully. But we know from documentaries that there are people that steal the dust of the radioactivity stuff, and they sell it because it's very valuable and it's very hot. it's hot. It's like it's minuscule.
What do
stuff.
people use it for?
Oh, so they make bombs.
Dirty bombs.
If you could get an ounce of uranium from your uranium, look, I work with an uranium factory. I help to purify it. It's in
I
Tennessee.
saw Iranians following you.
Yeah, and you sell it, and there's a whole underground market because every terrorist group wants to make a bomb. So if you could get some of these ashes, it's
big time.
So the idea that the little speck of stuff could go a long way, and it also contaminates the person on his garments.
Yeah.
You know, like in the old days, they used to have the gold watches with the things that glowed. That was so when they whatever it was when they melted those golds and it passed through jewelers and this and that, there were pieces of jewelry that they would detect, like you say on a Geiger counter.
Radium.
Actually,
Radioactive stuff.
whatever had radiation on it. You had to be
They
careful.
put it into
A ring can cause cancer of the skin or something.
they put it into makeup. They thought it was okay. It could
Also, women that paint those on their watches, they sometimes lick the thing in. And, so this is all part of the stuff, right? I mean,
it could lahagisa. Those that say it's slightly different. Time mishum gachelas. You can't have
This is a Kodak moment.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
The reason why some people read this the opposite. The reason why it has to be put back on is because it was a coal. This made mishasha, and that has substance.